Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest, breaking down a report that came out from Adrian Wojnarowski, obviously the guy, it's the number one insider, he's the guy that people look at as the most, reliable reports, and he came out on The Jump the other day and said that the Minnesota Timberwolves are looking to acquire D'Angelo Russell or Toronto Raptors championship point guard Kyle Lowry. Riker, Raptors fans after these past few games, ever since he's returned from injury, have been pretty low on Kyle, despite the fact he had an amazing start to the season. And I guess it makes sense considering he had some poor shooting nights. We've lost a lot of the games and barely beat the Bulls since he's come back. What are your initial reactions to this and the fact that the Timberwolves are looking to get him? And they've been in reports, they've tried to sign him in free agency. They've been connected to Kyle for many years now. Do you think this is a legitimate possibility? And would it be smart for the Raptors to move Kyle at this point?
Ben, I don't know if you're familiar with the old Pirates of the Caribbean series, but Kyle Lowry is basically like a pirate being pushed out on the plank by all the crewmen, forced to walk the plank, and all Toronto Raptors fans are the crewmen here. I feel like the growing sentiment is that people want him gone. Our Instagram comments or our DMs, they're swamped with Lowry is trash. Can't be playing Lowry. Yeah. He needs to come off the bench. People, they just don't want him on the team anymore. I've at times shared that same sentiment, except I think it's a little too early to pull the trigger. Kyle Lowry, at the beginning of the season before his injury, was statistically one of his best seasons to date. Mm-hmm. So, plus, like you said, he's our championship point guard. He was the guy for the longest time. So I think we need to give him the benefit of the doubt before we can start making trades, especially these blockbuster trades. And how disloyal would that be to trade away DeMar DeRozan and Lowry in back-to-back seasons? The only two guys that have truly committed to this Raptors franchise. But the Minnesota Timberwolves, they've been struggling. They want to win now. The Toronto Raptors, we've been struggling. We want to win now. Could a trade happen?
Yep.
Maybe. So let's break it down. What would it take to get Kyle Lowry off this team? What are your thoughts?
Well, everyone knows, everyone listens to the podcast knows, Kyle Lowry is one of my favorite players of all time. I'd be really heartbroken to see him leave this Toronto Raptors team, and I would not want this trade to happen, especially after a few poor games. But you mentioned it, the team has been struggling, and the sentiment, it seems like, Riker, this time last year, this time 2 years ago, this time of year, Kyle Lowry always tends to go into a slump, and then Raptors fans completely bag on him, completely throw him under the bus. So I think it's something he's going to bounce back from, and like years past, I think it's something that's going to blow over, but obviously we're in a very different situation than we were in past years, and there's been questions about whether the team would look to obviously stay competitive. There's no looking to tank for this Toronto Raptors team, but there might be plans to go into a younger direction. They may, and the Timberwolves do have some younger players, so it's going to be it's something that could possibly happen. We have some trade ideas that you've made that I haven't seen yet, but Kyle Lowry's currently averaging 20 points on the season, averaging 7 assists, which I believe, it's one of his, aside from last year, it's a bit down from last year, but around his career average. His rebounds are pretty high. He's averaging about 5 per game. He's still a top tier all-star level point guard. Do you think that we can get value back from the Timberwolves if this move happens? Because they've obviously been interested in him for a long time.
Well, it's almost impossible to have a 1-to-1 trade with the Minnesota Timberwolves. We look at their salary situation. They have Wiggins and Karl-Anthony Towns both on the max at $27 million this year. Then they have Teague at 19. Covington and Gorgie Dang are 16 and 11. And then the rest are down at the 4s, the 2s, the $1 million range. So in order for them, and they're so far over the luxury tax right now, if we were to do a 1-to-1 trade and they only receive Lowry, basically to make it legible, and I don't know how the picks play in because obviously on the ESPN trade machine doesn't really factor it, but if we're just looking at salary matching, they have to give away about $40 million in order to get back $40 to $45 million in order just to get back Lowry's salary. So I think a 1-to-1 trade is almost impossible, Ben, unless picks factor into this. But realistically, is there any scenario where both teams could mutually benefit from a 1-to-1 trade? I just don't really see it, because who would we want back in return for getting rid of Lowry? Maybe a Wiggins, but I would argue that our team would decline if we just got rid of Lowry for Wiggins, right? We certainly wouldn't benefit from picking up Jeff Teague rather than Kyle Lowry. Like, there's just nobody in a 1-to-1 trade that really makes sense. Maybe you have a different opinion on that.
Well, I think the Wiggins discussion we should definitely talk about, because if that trade were to happen, Fred VanVleet, you'd be essentially stubbing him in there as the current starting point guard for this Toronto Raptors team. Wiggins would... it'd be
but this trade would happen right now, Ben. So if Fred VanVleet's out with injury...
This is what I'm saying. Yeah, so Fred VanVleet's only going to be injured he's day-to-day currently, so he'll be fine. And Terrence Davis can man the point guard with McCall or something for a game or two. If this is a long-term impacting trade. We can't worry about that currently. But if this trade happens, Norm will be put to the bench again. I assume we keep OG as the starting small forward, and then Wiggins would be the starting two for this Toronto Raptors team. And he's had a revitalized season, and maybe the T-Wolves don't trust that will be a long-term factor, or he'll continue it up, and they should trade him while his value is as high as it's ever been in the past 4 years. That's a lot of long-term money that we'd be bringing into account for Andrew Wiggins, and he seems to play really well in Toronto. His scoring has been at a whole nother level this season, but he's still kind of inefficient. The T-Wolves still haven't been very great at winning games. They've been better this season, so I agree. I don't think it makes us better currently, but maybe people see Kyle Lowry's being injury prone, being 33 years old, and if you see Andrew Wiggins with a positive asset value, I think it might be something people would consider. I think if this move were to go down, the T-Wolves will have to give up some picks, and I doubt that they'd make this move for Kyle Lowry and give up Wiggins, and Towns, because they're their two main guys right now. So it doesn't really make sense, a straight-up 1-to-1 deal with the Minnesota Timberwolves.
No, it doesn't. The perfect segue, Ben. The real reason that people came here, I'm hoping that we're going to have some ridiculous title to this podcast, because, boy, I got a whopping lineup of trade scenarios here with 3 teams.
I have not seen these trades.
You haven't. The first one being the most realistic. You mentioned at the beginning that they're interested in both Kyle Lowry and D'Angelo Russell. Well, D'Angelo Russell, he's out, right? Warriors have been struggling. Let's give the Warriors a win now. We need to give them, suck a little bit of life, or take a little bit of life back and inject it back into the Warriors team. So I'll send it over to you over text, but I'll read it aloud anyways. The Timberwolves, they'll get both Kyle Lowry and D'Angelo Russell. Oh, my goodness. We're going to part ways with Serge Ibaka, okay? We're going to give Serge Ibaka to the Warriors, and they're also going to receive Jeff Teague. So the Golden State Warriors are now in a position where they're getting rid of an injured player. They're getting back a power forward and a legitimate point guard to mesh with their Eric Paschal's, I think that's his first name. And they're good young guys. So now they have the potential to win some games. And us in return, you mentioned Andrew Wiggins. We're getting him plus Gorgie Deng to replace Serge Ibaka and your boy Culliver, who you think is a solid piece this season. This is not a meme. This is a legit trade proposal scenario. I think all teams would benefit from this one potentially, Ben.
Well, this one's wild. This one's pretty... not just one point guard, 2 point guards for the Minnesota Timberwolves they're bringing in. I don't know. That's interesting. I could see the Warriors looking to get bigger, and maybe Serge Ibaka is a guy that's interesting. And Jeff Teague would be a great backup point guard for them when Curry comes back. And I don't know. And then Wiggins, we talked about Wiggins. I really like Jared Culver. He's shown some potential. I think he could be a decent player in the league. Obviously, Gorgie Deng, his contract's massive, but it's only 2 years left in the deal. It's kind of interesting. I think this is you'd have to get a third team involved to make this deal happen. So this one's not too bad. I could see if the Timberwolves, maybe they don't want to bring in both of these players and Kyle Lowry and D'Lo, but they both get buckets, and that'd be a good starting lineup for the Timberwolves. I don't know, it kind of breaks the rest of their team, but interesting trade.
It doesn't necessarily break the rest of their team. I mean, they get better, arguably. What?
Yeah. Oh no, for sure, they get better with this deal.
Well, we'll see. Well. To me, it's unlikely that the Warriors are going to get rid of their, D'Angelo Russell, who they're really banking on. But with so many injuries, with just the absolute disaster that's happening now because of injuries with the Golden State Warriors, this could give them a potential, like I said, to win a few games. But there's one team that's always in the mix, Ben, for some trades. That's the Orlando Magic. We're going into meme territory. We're going to bring it back out of the meme territory with this third trade with the Spurs. But this one here, you can see it. Timberwolves, they're going to get Kyle Lowry. We're going to pick up Evan Fournier. a shooter, right? We need that sniper mentality. And then also we're getting back the worst player in the world, Terrence Ross. But you know what? We'll bench him, we'll cut him, whatever has to happen. The Orlando Magic, they'll get some people, whatever. The real focus here is on us picking up Evan Fournier. What do you think, Ben? Would you get rid of Kyle Lowry for Evan Fournier?
Hold up. You didn't make this straight.
I told you we're going to immediately
Terrence Ross back with the Toronto Raptors?
Terrence Ross around for
How could I say no to Terrence Ross back with the Toronto?
Swinging him around for a salary dump. It's a plot to get him out of the league, Ben.
Honestly, the Raptors really love their three-point shooting, so this is something that's kind of interesting. I don't really like the value back for Lowry on this one, but Fournier is a decent player. Terrence Ross, memes aside, he can shoot the ball. He can get some buckets off the bench. I can see the Orlando Magic doing it because they need shooters, even though they need bucket getters. They need some scoring because their offense has just been atrocious. So if they feel like they need a shot creator, maybe Wiggins could be that guy for them. Bates Diop is a decent defender. Doesn't really play too much. I don't know. This is tough to give up Kyle Lowry for, but interesting move. I like the return of T. Ross and seeing your reactions to T. Ross on a nightly basis again. That'd be great.
Listen, Ben, there's one player that would be more shocking to bring back than Terrence Ross, and this team, all three teams might want to make a trade. We know the Spurs, they're in dire straits right now. There's rumors that they're going to get rid of DeMar DeRozan. We've also already broken down rumors that we're going to see DeMar DeRozan's return to the Toronto Raptors. We're going to get rid of Raptors committed legend, Kyle Lowry, and we're going to get back a Raptors committed legend in DeMar DeRozan. And the San Antonio Spurs, they're going to get some revitalization in Culver and Wiggins.
Yep.
All teams, hear me out, Ben. All teams are winning here. The San Antonio Spurs get a piece to build around. We get back our boy DeMar DeRozan, who the American media have pegged to come here anyways, and then we give Minnesota who they want. All teams win, Ben. What do you think?
Well, the Spurs, I assume they're looking for three-point shooting. Because that's the reason they've been bad this year. Because otherwise they've been pretty decent. Their defense has been fine, whatever. And Andrew Wiggins, I guess he's been better at the threes this season. But I don't know. That's interesting. DeMar DeRozan, we made a whole video on bringing back DeMar DeRozan. This might get us a few dislikes. The BB trades usually get us a few dislikes. But I don't know. Let us know what you guys think trading Kyle Lowry for DeMar DeRozan as a Raptors fan. I guess the T-Wolves, if they're looking to get rid of Wiggins, man, it makes sense for them.
All right, I'm not even going to read this last one out loud here, Ben, because there's a lot of action going around. I'll send it to you over text. We got a New York Knicks. You can't talk about trade scenarios and not put the New York Knicks in the mix. They have a disaster wreck going on right now. There's a bunch of players just flying all around the place here. I thought it'd be a good place to finish off. We get a bunch of pieces. We get Andrew Wiggins. We get Julius Randle, who, we need a legitimate big on the inside that can actually post up and finish. Maybe a step through for once, because I haven't seen a single step through yet from any big this entire season long. Pascal Siakam, I'm not even considering him a big. I'm considering him a 3 now, but I'm singling out Serge Ibaka and Marc Gasol. We're getting Wiggins. We're getting Julius Randle. We're getting Josh Okogie. Maybe this is the guy that you said is good. Either way, Ben, what do you think of this trade here? The Knicks, they're always down for some fun and for some action.
Yeah, I'm definitely higher on Okogie than Culver, but this is a lot of pieces for us. I don't see the Knicks giving up Kevin Knox for Serge Ibaka and Jeff Teague, but I don't know. This one's probably the most wild.
Kevin
out
Knox
of them all.
has been absolute gutter trash for them, dude. He's been terrible.
Yeah, but they have no young pieces. They're
RJ Barrett,
and they're not trying to win now. He's their only young piece, and I guess Mitchell Robinson. But they gotta go young. That's the direction they gotta go. They just fired their coach in Fizdale. And Serge Ibaka, he's like a win now player. He's a team that I could see the Warriors or something looking at because obviously they'll get Curry and all them.
Give some life to the New York Knicks, then you lose them both and pick some guys up in free agency.
Honestly, it's the Knicks, so I'll let it slide. But if the Raptors are high on Wiggins, want that money in, Julius Randle's a good player. Okogie's a baller. You really went all out with these Kyle Lowry.
Win-win-win this game. 4-3 traders. They're blockbusters. We've been in a trade drought in the NBA. Could one of these happen? Probably not. Likely not. Definitely not. I'm going to say definitely not. But it would be exciting if they did.
You know, blockbuster trades are always exciting. We start off the podcast. Neither of us really want to see Lowry gone right now. I really don't want to see Lowry gone, especially, I'd love Wiggins on the team just because of culture. He's Canadian. He's a guy I've been supporting since he was 13. But it'd be tough to trade Kyle. But let's know what you guys think. People are pretty low on Kyle. Maybe they want a blockbuster trade like this to happen. Give us your trade machines in the comment section below. You're the best to make it this far. Check out the Twitter, the Instagram, all that cool stuff. Ryker, any last words?
Nothing cool, then. So that's it. Cheers.